Have you ever wondered why, despite Sri Lanka's economic transformation over the years, women's participation in the workforce remains so low? With only 31.3% of women in the labour force as of 2023, Sri Lanka lags behind many other nations. But why is this happening and what can be done to change it? Today, we break down the key insights from the World Bank's South Asia Development Update 2024 and explain why empowering women in the workforce is not just a matter of equality, it's an economic necessity. Let's start with the paradox. Sri Lankan women are more educated than ever, yet their participation in formal employment has stagnated between 30% and 36% for decades. So what's really stopping them from entering and staying in the workforce? The challenges women face in the job market come from four main areas: labor demand. Are there enough jobs suited for women? Labor supply. Do women have the skills and support to work? Labor market frictions. Are they getting equal opportunities? And number four, legal framework. Do the laws support women's participation in the workforce? Let's start with understanding labor demand. Firstly, research has shown that there's a U-shaped relationship between economic growth and female employment. In low-income countries, women work out of a necessity. As incomes rise, many leave the workforce due to social norms and household responsibilities. But in high-income economies, participation rises again as better-paying jobs in services and white-collar professions attract women back. In Sri Lanka, the services sector dominates the economy, accounting for about 60.6% of GDP in 2023, but it hasn't absorbed enough female workers. Unlike in East Asia, where women moved from agriculture into factories and offices, many Sri Lankan women are left out due to limited opportunities, restrictive labour laws, and workplace barriers. Urbanization should, in theory, increase women's employment. Cities offer higher wages, better education, and less restrictive social norms. But in South Asia, the opposite is happening. Why? Higher spousal incomes reduce financial pressure on women to work, and limited childcare options make balancing work and family very difficult. This makes sense, given that approximately 74% of employed women in Sri Lanka are engaged in the rural and estate sectors. However, we also have to keep in mind that the proportion of Sri Lanka's population residing in urban areas is still very low, approximately just 19% in 2023, and most of them are actually concentrated in the Western province. Studies have shown that trade and exports could also drive female employment. In sectors like ready-made garments, global competition has actually increased opportunities for women. The garment sector in Sri Lanka is a prime example where trade competition and technological advancements have created jobs for women. However, Sri Lanka is only utilizing a fraction of its export potential, meaning many job opportunities for women still remain untapped. As an example, Sri Lanka's female labour force participation, or FLFP in short, increased from about 22% in 1946 to 35% in 1995, but has since remained stagnant between 30% to 36%. This trend reflects a shift in female labour force participation as women began to engage in manufacturing and services following economic liberalization in the late 1970s. Despite this initial expansion, the lack of further growth suggests persistent structural and social barriers to women's workforce participation. Women's participation in the workforce is not just about job availability, it's also about whether they can actually supply their labour. One of the biggest challenges to women's labour supply is mobility. Many women lack safe and reliable transportation. Studies from South Asia show that safety concerns significantly affect a woman's decision to commute for work, reducing women's workforce participation. In Dhaka, Bangladesh, for example, a study showed how women who feel safe outside are nearly 10% more likely to work. In Sri Lanka, a UNFPA report in 2017 revealed that a shocking 90% of women and girls have faced sexual harassment in public buses and trains at least once in their lifetime. Given these, improving public safety and transport can encourage more women to seek work outside of the home. In addition, women's skills composition can be another barrier to their ability to engage in productive work. Since the early 2000s, women's education outcomes in South Asia have improved significantly, narrowing gender gaps. However, a skills mismatch, especially in job-related skills and soft skills, can hinder women's ability to access productive employment opportunities. Caregiving responsibilities and social norms is another critical issue. In South Asia, childbearing and child rearing remain the primary domain and responsibility of women. Sri Lanka's time use survey, last conducted in 2017, revealed that Sri Lankan women spend 3 hours and 12 minutes and 54 minutes more than men on domestic services and unpaid caregiving services respectively for their household and family members per day. It doesn't help that South Asia has one of the weakest legal frameworks for childcare, making it difficult for women to balance work and family responsibilities. While access to affordable childcare can boost female employment in Sri Lanka, cultural norms can still discourage many women from prioritizing working outside of the home, especially those that are full-time jobs. Labor market frictions such as information asymmetries and limited access to employment networks can also be a hindrance to female labor force participation. In South Asia, many jobs are filled through personal connections. Many employers also rely on education credentials to assess job applicants. But when education quality is inconsistent, they look for alternative signals like apprenticeships and certificates to ascertain worker skills. However, women often struggle with limited access to professional networks and job information, making it quite difficult to access suitable employment opportunities or even make informed decisions about upskilling. Digital platforms can play a role by providing job search assistance, transparent wage information, and safer work environments. But the low digital literacy among women can be a barrier to utilizing such tools. A country's legal framework can set the context in which labor demand, labor supply, and labor market frictions operate. South Asia has some of the most restrictive labor laws and cultural attitudes regarding female employment. While equal pay and anti-discrimination laws exist, enforcement remains very weak. In Sri Lanka, labor laws impose restrictions on women's night work, allowing women aged 18 and above to work only until 8 p.m., except for some occupations such as those in tourism. In manufacturing, nighttime work is limited to about 10 days a month. While these laws aim to ensure the safety of women in the nights, they fail to address the realities of sectors that require nighttime work, such as those in tourism and healthcare. The absence of legal provisions for part-time or flexible work arrangements in Sri Lanka discourages employers from offering such options, which could otherwise help increase female labor force participation. Without formal recognition, firms may hesitate to create internal policies for flexible work, limiting opportunities for women who need to balance work with household responsibilities. Sri Lanka's labor laws also require employers to bear the full costs of providing maternity leave, which can inadvertently lead to discrimination against women in hiring, promotions, and career progression, limiting their economic participation. To boost women's workforce participation, Sri Lanka needs a multifaceted approach. Firstly, encouraging trade and export growth to create more jobs suitable for women. Secondly, improving childcare policies where affordable daycare could help more women stay in the workforce. Thirdly, investing in safe transport, because studies have shown that better public safety boosts women's employment. Fourthly, leverage digital platforms. Online job matching and remote work can help bypass social restrictions. Fifth, change or amend our labor laws. Updating regulations to allow for nighttime work for women and more flexible work options could make a massive difference. Lastly, challenging our social norms. Implementing quotas for women in politics and public life, along with highlighting female role models, can help change societal perceptions about women in the workforce. Empowering women in the workforce isn't just about fairness, it's about economic growth. Studies have shown that closing the gender gap in employment could boost Sri Lanka's GDP significantly. The future of Sri Lanka's economy depends on how well we remove barriers, create opportunities, and support women's choices. The question is, what steps will we take next?